guarantee you are applying this key principle when doing your golf fitness. The main purpose of a golf fitness program is to increase mobility in key joints while increasing high levels of strength and explosive power from the ground up to increase your stability, consistency and distance. Therefore, the exercises and movement patterns we focus on need to make sure we're adapting to this. Otherwise, we won't be transferring those physical qualities to the golf swing. So in order to do this and apply this correctly, we need to make sure our intent is right when training. We can do this by understanding something called velocity-based training and reps in reserve. So for example, when doing a hex bar deadlift, an exercise that we know is great for golf fitness because of that vertical force, strength and explosive power that we can develop that relates to the golf swing, we want to make sure that we're training with the right intensity. Now, an exercise like this would typically be working towards a higher load, but a higher load would mean a slower velocity, i.e. the bar's not going to move as quickly even though we're giving 100% effort. Whereas if we use a lighter load, the bar's going to move much, much quicker with the same amount of effort. So when we go into the exercise, we're looking to move this load as hard as possible, although effectively as possible, but with a load where the velocity is below 0.5. So as I drive this up in a normal manner, we can see that the velocity is 0.51. So we're round about that maximal strength. If I do this a little bit slower, 0.44, we can see that would be around the max strength zone. However, the difference is that I'm not giving my 100%. So I'm not actually lifting and my body is not actually adapting to the higher strength loads. Whereas if I was to give this 100% effort, 0.74. We can see already I'm moving in that explosive power zone. 0.71. And I'm applying a much higher intensity 0.78. To get that higher velocity. I know that the load I've got on the bar based on the numbers that I'm moving and the effort that I'm giving, that I'm working explosive power rather than that maximal strength. So if I need to get into that maximal strength for my deadlift to improve that vertical force in the right way, I need to increase the load on the bar. So now if we take a upper body strength and power exercise, we need to determine are we working strength again, are we working power, where that sits on the velocity based and that force velocity curve. So understanding that intent, if I go into my rep, first rep at a load I can move very easily, a warm-up set might just be quite light, 7.5. And we can see I can move that weight very easily. But if I was now saying I need to work a bit more speed in this motion, 0.95. We can see how that velocity 0.87. Really starts to go 0.86. Into that higher speed zone. But what I'm looking for is, can I get the right load and still give that 100% effort to hit the right numbers? So now importantly, when we do a jumping motion where we know that we only want to be doing roughly 6 reps because of that fatigue drop off, this is where the reps in reserve starts to play a role. So reps in reserve would simply be a 10 out of 10 would be no more effort. I'm too tired, I'm too fatigued, I cannot do any more reps. We want to work to roughly about an 8 out of 10, which means I can give 100% effort still, but I've got 2 in the tank. So I could keep going, but I'm stopping too short. When we do a jump, we're trying to explode as hard as we can, trying to get that max velocity because I'm only moving my body weight. If I had a barbell to my back and had a little bit of load, can we keep the numbers still high without that speed dropping off or that velocity dropping off? So that shows explosive power even with more weight. Whereas if I do a little jump where I'm a little bit slow, a little bit fatigued, and I can't really give that high energy, we see how the numbers really drop off. So we're looking for that real explosive, and you see how those jumps. 1.29. So if I do one more, my fatigue's kicked in, I give 100%. 1.12. And we can see how those numbers start to drop off. So you can judge based on your fatigue and those reps in reserve numbers and how the velocity moves up and down depending on fatigue and depending on the load that you're using in the exercise. So as we take this principle across to like a true golf specific speed training where we're actually using a radar and a speed stick or a club, we can take that same understanding of reps in reserve. If we start to fatigue and that speed starts to drop off by at least 5 to 10%, we know that the energy that we're applying isn't speed specific anymore, and then we're not actually training speed. So this is the same way as if we're trying to do strength and we're not moving with the right intensity at the right load, when our bodies are not actually adapting physiologically to the max strength or the max power, explosive power output and therefore we're not going to get that transfer to the golf swing. So if we do, let's say, think of the same principle, 6 swings, and we can use the radar, so if I'm giving max intent, and then where's those speeds numbers? They should still, at the very least, be increasing, which they are now. If I keep that same energy going where I feel now the heart rate's up and I'm slowing down, that speed's still going up, so I know the fatigue hasn't kicked in yet, but now we're starting to see a slight drop off. That swing felt very laboured, and I'm starting to see a significant drop off in speed. So that proves that the intensity that we apply will directly impact what outcome we get, whereas most golfers will essentially be applying at the same intensity across strength, power and speed. And that force velocity curve, we're not working in the right zone, and therefore we won't be getting the right output. So the next time you're applying your golf fitness program, key takes are making sure you're applying with the maximum intensity for what you're trying to achieve, and you're not working under fatigue for the intensity zone. Therefore, you'll get the outcome that you're looking to get that will improve your golf swing. If you're struggling to know how to program this, I've got a golf online fitness app which you can look at in the description below, and it gives all the routines, the reps, the loads, and how you can progress over time to actually transfer those physical qualities into your golf swing.